Hello there, and welcome back to Breathe Motivation. My name is Anthony Hester. I am the host and founder of Breathe Motivation. So glad you guys could join us today on Wednesday. It is hump day, so happy hump day to you. I know some of you guys are working, some of you guys retail or people that work the weekends. I'm sure you might have a day off, so I hope you guys are enjoying that. So let's recap yesterday. Yesterday we talked about relationships. So there are two different questions that we kind of really ask, and it's not kind of, we ask ourselves when we first start to form a relationship with friends or co-workers and all that stuff. What can this person bring to me, and what can I bring to them? What kind of value could we bring for each other, right? So it's important for us to know that and understand that. Now, subconsciously, we usually ask those questions and kind of get a feel for people and who they are, and really kind of relate to whether they can bring something to us or not, right? So it's important for us to be able to create great relationships and understand that we got to create boundaries that are going to allow us to have great relationships and be able to have great communication. That's a big piece of it, right? Communication, taking time to spend time with people. That's always a big thing with relationships. So that's ways to, really understand great relationships. So if this isn't enough and you didn't listen to yesterday, I would recommend you go back to yesterday to really understand how to have great relationships. So this is episode 97. So 97 straight days we've been here because we like to bring motivation to you each and every day because we know you need a little motivation every day. So today we're going to talk about you are where you are supposed to be or where you're meant to be. So I was having a conversation with a friend and actually a couple of people that I've talked to, and I used to hate that. So somebody told me that a couple of years ago, and I was like, no, this isn't where I'm supposed to be. But now looking at it, I always, kind of acknowledge that and, have conversations with people, and, I don't know why it bugged me so much. And I think it was because I was so future oriented. I wanted success right away that it got in the way. So let's start off with the definition for today. Today is the definition. So today means on or in the course of this present day. So, when I was talking to my friend about this, it's very easy for us to get caught up in the past or things that have happened, or maybe things haven't really gone your way, or you had to change course. Now, it's very difficult to really understand it when it happens, right? Things kind of happen and, in certain situations. So when I look at, situations that I've gone through that I was like, man, that really kind of shaped who I was. And I had to go through these things to understand, that kind of saying, you are where you're supposed to be. I went through some pretty tough times when I did direct sales when I first moved to Texas, right? I had to really learn about myself. And I had always, for whatever reason, feared sales. And somehow I got involved in doing direct sales. I went out on a ride along and, I was like, oh, okay, this can't be that bad. I can learn, about this and do very well in this. So, I don't know what got into me, but I had to learn those lessons. So I'd gone through, when going through my, late, so like 19 to like 22, 23, I was really, really dumb. And I would go out, I would spend money that I didn't have, young and dumb. I'd go out, party, hang out with friends. I'd buy stuff and, not even really think about the, repercussions of not having, the money, or, I had money, but, I would spend more money than what's bringing in. So, at that age, I didn't really, I go back to, my mom used to tell me, and, my grandfather, he deals with money, goes by the money doctor and all that stuff, and actually wrote books on it. But I don't think I ever grasped the idea of having a budget. And when I went through direct sales, doing this stint, it was 100% commission. So at the time, there was no way that I could spend money frivolously, right? I couldn't do it. There was no way. There would be times where, we got paid weekly, and, I still kind of laugh at this, but, my wife and I went on like our first date. And, I had to wait until I got my paycheck that Friday night to be able to take her out. So I got out of work a little bit late, and usually if you get it in before 8, and this, probably back in 2010 or 2011, early 2011, you used to be, if you could get it in before 8, you'd at least have some kind of balance, to be able to pay for a meal or enough to just, they would kind of cut that check. But I think the check was maybe, it wasn't even much. It was like $300. So I get it. I'm rushing to the bank. I get into the bank and it says, oh, hey, you've got this balance of whatever. So I didn't even pay attention to it. And I just went and I was like, man, I got to get ready, because I'm outside sweating all day. So I got to go take a shower, get ready. And I get to, we go on this date. It's a first date, and and also I'd stood up my wife a couple of times. One, I was just kind of not ready. I was like, I'm not ready for a girlfriend or anything serious. So I kind of made an excuse to kind of back out of a date, and I'd done that a couple of times. So this is just kind of the story of how my relationship started with my wife. So and where I was supposed to be at the time. So I go on this date. And guess what? I go to pay, and the server comes back and says, "Hey, your card declined." And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So like I just melt, and I'm like, "Oh, how embarrassing is that?" And it really kind of hit me that I had it good at one point where I was really making some decent money, and I had to be smart about how I spend money now because I didn't really make a whole lot of money, but it's just those situations and those ideas that sometimes, you know, those are lessons that I had to learn, right? Because I was so done with money. I really had to understand and really make sense out of money, right? And it was really frustrating at the time. And, I always go back to that lesson and that idea of you are where you're supposed to be, or you are where you're meant to be, because you're going to learn lessons. And it's kind of like, I'll talk a little bit about this later on, this week, but, kind of like karma, right? Karma is to teach you, it's kind of like the law of cause and effect, right? If one thing happens, this happens, and then, you kind of have to learn a lesson later. So, you never know when it's going to pop up. So this happened, a couple years later, where it just popped up where I had to understand money and really understand what it meant to have a dollar, right? Because there were many times where, my card would decline. I couldn't even afford $5 for a meal once. I went to a Racetrack, which is a gas station out here. I went to get like an energy drink, and, they have like a hot dog, for, two for $2. And I go to ring it out, and guess what? It doesn't even go through. And luckily, the lady felt, I don't know if she, felt sorry for me. She's like, "Hey, I can't let you take the energy drink, but take the hot dogs." And I was like, wow, I appreciate that, right? So it kind of opened my eyes to who I was, what I could go through, and what I could, prosper through, because it took a while for me to understand that lesson. But as I learned that lesson, I understood who I was. It was so much easier for me to get ahead now. So I look at those lessons now and what I learned. So when I did direct sales, one, I learned how to sell. I never had a sale. I had sales jobs before, but it's at like Best Buy, where I sold computers and I sold cameras, right? So I learned a little bit about it, but it wasn't really, kind of like negotiations and really understanding the psychology of sales. So I was never 100% comfortable with it. So I learned sales 101 through direct sales. So knocking door to door, selling TV, internet, and phone service. And there would be times where I got my butt kicked. So I would go to Dallas, which is one of the hardest territories, because there's big houses everywhere. These little, what they call are McMansions. So they're not quite mansions, but they're big enough to almost be mansions. So you try to have to go sell people there. They've got like 20 TVs, and I can only work with 8 TVs. So you would have all these, things that are going on. So, that taught me to really, persist in what I'm doing. You're right. I couldn't just give up. Like, if I didn't get sales, guess what? I didn't make money, and I wasn't eating, or I wasn't making rent. So it really taught me an appreciation for myself and my learning abilities. And it's really helped me along the way to be where I'm at today. And if I had never learned those lessons, I would not be anywhere close to where I'm at. Now, luckily, my wife didn't just, we dated for 3 months and we got married. And it was the craziest thing, probably the quickest thing that's ever happened, but I knew it was meant to be. And thankfully, she, wanted to marry me after standing her up and my car declining and all that stuff. So she's been with me, and we continue to have a strong relationship, and I greatly appreciate that. But I don't know that I would ever have been prepared for all of this stuff if none of that had happened, right? So there are many things that you go through in life that you might say, man, this sucks. This really sucks. And I don't know what to do. And sometimes it's just a matter of one, digging deep down inside and saying, hey, I got this. No matter what happens, I got this. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to make it happen. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to make it through this adversity. And when you do that, it clicks in your mind that, hey, you're going to start, thinking of ideas. There would be times where I was like, man, how am I going to make this work? And I'd go to bed and I'd ask myself, I'm like, hey, what can I do to make this work? And I would wake up and for whatever reason, I'd have some kind of idea in the morning that was going to help me along the way. Or I was like, man, I'm really struggling in sales. How can I get better at this? So I would practice, right? So I'd practice different objections and how to overcome those. So it really took me a lot of lessons to learn, right? And I hadn't gone to school. I went to a little bit of college, and I was able to really kind of learn, how to kind of really study, because I had to study to get better at the sales, direct sales, because I go to strangers' doors and people, they're not very receptive when you go to, a house, because obviously they don't know I'm coming. So they're not very receptive. So I had to be quick on my feet, and I learned how to be quick on my feet. And I was able to understand that part of, direct sales. And that ultimately led me to being able to train and coach and teach people how to do door-to-door sales, because at some point I got really good at it. So that really led to my love for, helping people understand sales and the psychology of sales, but also being able to understand that I love coaching and I love, being, working with people. So that led to where I'm at today with Breathe Motivation. So there's a lot of great things that go on that don't seem very great when they happen, but I will tell you to just keep pushing through. And if you keep pushing through, you're going to see great things happen. You're going to have a breakthrough. If you're consistent and you're persistent in your actions and you are working to get something done, you are going to have a breakthrough. Something is going to happen. Something is going to click for you, and it will come at whatever. You don't know when it's going to come, but I promise you it will come, and you will understand the lesson later. I look back, I reflect, I'm like, man, I really learned and I became a better person from this. And if, a difficult time comes up, I'd be like, great, you know what? I've gone through harder times and I know I can push through this and it's going to be okay. So you got to understand that too. So know what you got to do. Understand that you are where you're supposed to be, or you are where you're meant to be. And just take that and continue to take action. And I promise you, you'll find success. So let me leave you with this quote. Today you are you. That is truer than true. There is no one alive who is youer than you. And that's Dr. Seuss. And I'm sure you could probably tell by that. But go out there, understand that you are going to be able to live the life that you want to live. And you've got to be persistent and consistent in your actions, and you will make it through. But you are where you're supposed to be. And I know that you will push through and become better out of it. So go out there and do it. Make this Wednesday a great Wednesday, and make every day the best day you can make it. So with that being said, I've got some exciting stuff. We're going to start. I've got some interviews lined up for, some people with content. We're going to get you some more content on here, be able to hear different perspectives from all kinds of different people. So I'm excited to have that. We're going to have, Dr. Baker. She's a psychologist that has a podcast. I've got an interview with her soon. Wesley Chapman, he'll be the first interview. That'll be next Wednesday. So be looking forward to that. If you don't know who he is, just Google Wesley Chapman. You can find him, watch his videos. They're amazing. He's amazing. So excited and honored to have him on here. So looking forward to that next Wednesday. But you can find all of this great information and see, our podcast. You can check out my blog on breathemotivation.com. Also my social media as well. So let me know if you guys need anything, if I can help you in any way. I'd love to hear from you guys on my social media. I hear from you guys randomly, and it really just makes my day every time I hear from you guys. So continue to reach out to me, and if you guys have anything, need anything, or just want to say hi, I love it, and I appreciate it. So thank you guys so much, and remember to breathe motivation and exhale success, and I will see you tomorrow on Thursday, and then it'll be episode 98. So you guys have a great Wednesday, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.